Hey guys, welcome to the Introvert Dating Success Show. I'm your host, as always, Harry Wilmington. This is the show where you go to learn how to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Now, we got a lot to talk about today, including the main topic, which is, are you accidentally simping? Ways that you can tell and how to stop yourself. But first, I want to say I passed a huge milestone this week. I now officially have 10,000 subscribers. I want to thank all you guys that watch these videos, watch this particular show, show your support. I greatly appreciate it. It's been a dream of mine to get to 10,000 subscribers. Now, obviously, if I get to more, that'll be fantastic. But honestly, 10,000 was quite the climb. I'm happy to be here. If I get no other subscribers, I hope that you watching this right now, I'm able to at least help you out along in your dating journey to help figure out the ins and outs of how women function, how dating works, and how to land the woman of your dreams. So thank you guys so much for letting me hit 10,000 subscribers. I've been ecstatic since I got that marker this week. And yeah, we'll keep on moving and grooving and doing what we got to do, So obviously this show is about you guys. So I'm going to be answering your guys' questions. You can leave your questions in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer during the show. That said, I do want to say at the beginning of the show, there was a guy, his name is Unboxed Views, who left me a $10 super chat before the show started, and he left me a couple of questions to answer. I'm streaming by way of StreamYard, so I saw that earlier when I was testing stuff out, and then I signed out. When I signed back in, the questions have now disappeared. So Unboxed Views, I will answer your question. If you leave it in a comment somewhere, I will answer it in a completely separate video later this week so you can get an answer to that. But thank you for the super chat. Appreciate you. You've been a loyal supporter, and I'm immensely grateful. But yeah, for the rest of you guys, if you have any questions, you can ask me about any kind of dating question. I'll be happy to answer it. It could be something that's happening in your personal dating life right now, or just about the dating world at large in general. And I will be happy to answer that question. Also, guys, as always, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com. I got the link in the comment box. You can go there to check out my ebooks, audiobooks, programs, all that wonderful stuff that's designed to help you date as your introverted self while still getting your alone time. So let's go ahead and get into some of the questions that I got this past week. And I will actually start with a comment that is in the chat. So there is a viewer that left a comment in the chat, and this guy has the following question. He says, I've been dating a woman for 2.5 months, and she says, I'm remarkably patient, laid back, and she feels safe. I recently caught feelings. Any techniques to keep my emotions at bay to bring this across the finish line? Well, first of all, it's actually really great. It's great that you've been able to build up a level of comfort with her to where she feels these things. Because I'll tell you now, for women, the hardest part about dating is that most guys are going to make them feel unsafe. They're going to try to rush in and do too much too soon. And then she's all like in her brain, like, oh my God, I like this guy, but then he's acting all weird, and now I gotta he scared me off. What am I doing? And women don't want that because they want to get with the guy that's going to be nice. But, as guys, you have to learn how to pace yourself out. So whatever you're doing right now is working for her, because now that she's been around you for 2.5 months, as you say, she's saying to you what? She's giving you feedback. You're patient, you're laid back, and as a result of you being that way, she feels safe. And this is honestly where you want to be. But what you don't want to do is take that and assume that you now got to change up the program. Because my motto is this: if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Whatever you're doing to get this woman is going to be the same thing you need to keep doing in order to keep her. And so you can't make the mistake of suddenly having this wide range of emotions for her make you think and feel like you now got to do something different. Because that's the trick. That's what most guys do, is at the point that they actually start feeling like care for a woman, they start thinking, oh, all these things I was doing to get her, I don't have to do those anymore because she likes me for me and I can just do whatever I want to do. And when you do that, you know what's going to happen? That's right. She's going to pull away. So you ain't got to do that, because honestly, if you're at 2.5 months with this lady, you're near the finish line. I tell you guys, on average, it takes what? It takes 2 to 3 months for a woman to solidify her feelings for you. You are at 2.5 months, which means between now and the next month or so, she's going to come to you and probably ask the question of, what are we? So regardless of what you're feeling heightened emotions, you've caught feelings, you want to you probably have in your head that you want to spew out all these things about how much you care about her. Do not fall for that. Do not make your brain go back into the ways you were before, thinking that that's going to now be a new version of you that's going to work on her. She wants the current version. She wants the version that's stoic, that's laid back, that's cool. And you trying to go to her and confess all these feelings and do extra for her is not going to allow you to come across as patient, laid back. And as a result, she's not going to feel safe. If anything, she's going to feel like, this guy's different from who I was dating. What's going on? Now I don't know the real him, and she'll be out. So in terms of techniques to keep your emotions at bay, understand, guy, you need to compartmentalize your emotions box and your blueprint plan box for getting this woman. So your feelings over here are saying, I have all these feelings for her. I really do love her. Don't say it. Do not yet say that you love her. Wait for her to say that first, but you're going to be feeling it. So you have the box over here that says you have emotions for her, you care about her, you feel things for her. And then you have this other box over here that says, but this is the dating plan. Harry said, wait 2 to 3 months. She said she'll come to me. She's already coming to you saying that you're remarkably patient and laid back, which is all girls speak for. I really care for you and I really love you, but I can't say it yet either because whatever. So she's already showing you signs that whatever you're doing is emotionally working on her. And as I've said before, all women care about is how they emotionally feel. So you could have all these feelings for her right now. That's fantastic. She doesn't care. She only cares about how you're making her feel and where her feelings are at for you. So all you got to do is literally keep doing what you're doing. Like I know as guys, we're doers. We want to do more. We want to say, what else can I throw into this mix to be able to make things go faster? Do exactly what you're doing and nothing more. And I promise you, the fact that she's already commenting on it means that she likes what you're doing and it's going to get you to the finish line. All right. The only technique you need to have is patience and understanding how the dating process goes for women. Women want to come to you to ask you to get in a relationship because then it makes them feel like they're clamoring for you as the prize. When you go to them, they're now put up on a pedestal, which means that they're now the prize. And women, in terms of hypergamy and stuff, they typically want to feel as though their guy is the prize that they're getting. So you going to her for all that stuff is not going to help you out. So just, you're doing good. I know it can be hard for a guy to be patient, but just be a little bit patient. I'm telling you, I have enough experience in this to know if you've been doing what you need to do diligently for 2 to 3 months, she will come to you. She will ask for the relationship. She will come to you and express all the feelings she has about you prior to getting to the relationship. And even when that happens, you don't go and do the same thing. You don't say, oh, I love you too. And I've been feeling things for the last month and a half, but didn't want to say, no. She'll come to you. Hey, so what are we? And I feel all these things for you. And you just be like, that's great. I think you're pretty cool too. And yeah, we should talk about that. And then just go from there, all right? That's going to be the best way for you to be able to get the results that you want, which is to land yourself in a relationship with this woman, all right? So hopefully, guy, this helps you out. All right, glad I could answer that question. See, guys, very easy. If you guys have a question, leave it in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer it for you as well. Let's see what we have in the comments from this past week. So let's see. Had a few comments here that I wanted to go over before we get to the main crux of the show. Let's see. Okay, so we have a question from a guy, and this question involves his girlfriend and a coworker of hers that happens to be her ex and what that situation is turning out to be. So let's answer this guy's question. He says, I have a girlfriend and she has an ex as a coworker. They are also inside the same circle of close friends that may interact and gather often outside the job description. Should I be patiently accompany her and help her to fully move on from her ex? Or should we just break it off and let her heal from her past? Because sometimes she still reminds me of how happy when they were together and feels those butterflies when she's alone or when her ex gave her attention. Please punctuate better for starters, because that was a hard sentence to read. So here's the thing, guy. You're in a situation where you are already in a relationship with her. She is now the girlfriend. I would think that during the dating phase, you would have already known and found out about her ex being a coworker of hers and being around her all the time. Because if you were able to find that out early, then the right move to have done would have been to just keep it on a hookup and going out level and not attach titles. Because the one thing that I stress to you guys is you do not want to date a woman that has exes in the background. This obviously, if the woman had a kid and you're dating a woman that has a kid and the kid has it's not an ex-baby daddy, then you can't really help that situation. But for situations that you can help, you want to look, your job as a guy is to analyze the situation between you and her and try to have as many easy ducks in a row as possible in terms of getting into the relationship and being able to handle the relationship once you're in it. So if I'm looking at this situation with this girl and I'm like, okay, she's cute, she's attractive, we have some good hookups, but what's her stats? She has an ex that she currently works with that she sees all the time. She sees him at work and she sees him outside of work, and they sometimes hang out together. I got to ask myself, is this a situation that I'm going to be happy with or I'm going to be bothered by? Her being around an ex that is a recent ex that she's still stressing she isn't quite all the way over with yet, or still occasionally having butterflies for, none of these things read as making it an easy pathway to be able to date her or to handle her in a relationship. So I would even ask her to be the girlfriend. Like we'd have just been on hookup level until she came to me and said, hey, so I want to take this to the next level and be the girlfriend. At which point I would have asked, okay, great. So what does that mean? For one thing, I don't tend to date people that have exes in the background. Like, I mean, I might date them, but I'm not going to like claim them as my girlfriend. So do you currently have exes in the background? She would have said, oh, I have this guy that I work with. How often do you guys see each other? Well, we work in the same cubicle and we have friends that are the same. And sometimes we party together and sometimes we go out clubbing together. I'd be like, okay, great. Let's keep things the way they are. Because I'm not going to force you to change up who you're hanging with, but I just know me personally that I don't hang around with my exes and I don't expect the person that I'm dating to do that either. So if you want to do that, that's your prerogative. That's cool. Let's just keep things as they are. And at that point, I go back to talking to other women until she decides to make a decision. Now, I would still talk to her, but I'd also be like, but this is going to be a serious commitment situation because you have an ex that you apparently still have butterflies for, and you're not willing to get rid of him. Or if you have to see him at work, either A, you're not willing to switch jobs, or B, you're not willing to only see him at work and not see him outside. Because the reality is, women that like you, they will not try to purposely put themselves in the way of their ex if they know A, that the ex probably still likes them, and also if they know that it's going to rattle your feathers. Now, again, as a guy, we're not telling you to be a controlling guy, but we are telling you you have a right to set boundaries and standards for what you will and will not accept in a full-blown relationship. And if a woman's coming to you and saying she wants a full-blown relationship, and you're looking at her and seeing that she has exes in the background that she hangs out with, and you don't like that, you can say no. Like, newsflash, guys, you don't have to say yes to every woman you're dating that wants you to be in a relationship, especially if you're looking at the stats she has and saying, sorry, it just doesn't line up. You have the total right to say it. Don't let people think that you don't. Don't let people think, well, how could you not date her just because she talks to her ex? That's blah, blah, blah. You, just like women have the right, even though we don't like it, they have a right to date who they want, money-wise, height-wise, whatever. You have the right to say, I don't date people who have that much close proximity to their ex and spend that much time with their ex. And so, no, we can't have a relationship. Now, you're already in one. You've already said yes to that. So at this point, again, I don't fundamentally believe you can force somebody to do something. So you're trying to ask, well, should you help her move on from her ex? That's not your job. Her job is to put herself back on the dating market once she's done considerably enough healing from that situation to where she's no longer even thinking about clamoring to that guy. If she was still clamoring for him and then you asked her to be the girlfriend anyway, you screwed up because you didn't look at the situation and say, she's still kind of hanging on to him, let me back away. So to the point, it's not your job to make her move on from her ex. And my suggestion, you're already in the relationship. If you like her and you're trying to stay with her and you think she might possibly do that with them too, it might be beneficial to have a conversation, but honestly, it might be worth breaking off. Like, because you could very well say, hey, you know what? When we first got into this, I wasn't aware of how often you were going to be around your ex. And I know that that's not something that I want because, you know, obviously if I had a hot, gorgeous ex that I was hanging around with, you probably wouldn't like that either. So we got to figure this out. Like, what's the situation? What can we do about that? And you can very well say, I think you need time to figure that out. And so I think for while you're figuring that out, we need to just go back to just being hookup buddies or friends with benefits or whatever, or just taking time apart to really assess and analyze what we want. And then from there, you drop her and then you go see other people until she makes a decision. Because again, ultimately, you don't have to accept a woman that's doing this kind of stuff. But for the future, Do your due diligence. If you knowingly know that a woman you're dating has told you, or you've discovered that she has exes in her social media or in her friend group that she's consistently seeing or commenting on their pictures or talking to on the phone or working with or whatever, again, I'm all for setting up your dating situation to be as easy as possible. This does not sound like it's going to be as easy as possible. And relationships themselves are already going to be difficult enough because you're going to be two different people that have come from two different backgrounds, have different ideas about things, that are going to come together and try to make things work. You don't need extra stuff thrown into that pot to make it harder. And this is one of those things. So that's my suggestion. But hey, I'm just the guy on the internet that's giving advice. You know your own situation better, so you can assess all this stuff and then really figure out for yourself what you feel is the best move forward. I'm just saying I wouldn't have accepted this in the first place, but that's me. So your results may vary, you know? All right, let's see. We got, like I said, guys, the show is about you. So if you have any comments that you want to ask me in the chat, you can feel free to do that, and I would happily answer it on this show. By the way, I don't have any sponsors yet. I know my 10,000 subscribers, but this HydroFlow thing is fantastic. Like, this thing keeps water cold all freaking day. I've literally had this out all day long since this morning, and my water is still cold. So HydroFlow, send me a check. Okay. Let's see. Going on to the next comment that was left here. Let's see. Okay. Here's an interesting question. So this guy has a question about vetting women early on in the dating process. I did a video earlier this week talking about the Russell Brand situation and how these women are coming out the woodwork to talk about how he allegedly did stuff to them. And in that video, I was talking about the consequences of male promiscuity and how when you're sleeping with a whole bunch of girls early on, you don't necessarily know which one of those girls is going to want to come back later to bite you in the butt if you happen to dump them or just one night stand them or whatever. So while I'm an advocate for, hey, if you have the skill, you want to go out there and bang a bunch of women, just if you're going to do that, know what's coming with that. And if you're willing to accept it, then go and have fun. But don't be surprised if some of those women come back later and try to say things about you that are disparaging, or that you did this to them, or that in hindsight, they didn't fully give permission, yada, yada, yada. All right. So anyway, this guy had a question. He said, so is there a way to vet for this in early dating? Since I've really gotten into dating, I've realized that a lot of women have problems in their lives. That's so true. This is why I tell you guys, it's very pertinent that you don't judge a woman in the beginning solely on her looks. Our hormones are going to take over and say, she looks so hot, I can totally trust her. And you will find out some of the hot women that you think are the hottest of hot also have the most problems of problems. All right. So just as you get older, you learn this. So I'm telling you, younger guys specifically, don't lead with your little head, lead with your big head, and make sure that this person has their head on straight before you start trying to just do a bunch of things, not thinking that it'll be totally fine, even if they're a little off, because they could be a lot of off. Anyway, he says, I realize that, yeah, they are pretty and nice, but some girls seem to hold back, tell me their issues, or just seem insecure. And if I continue dating them, I realize my issues or insecurities come out, or they seem way messed up than me. How can I vet early on for someone who is healthy that I can grow with? I'd rather know early on now so I can break it off so I don't get emotionally involved with an unhealthy situation. Took a few situations of experiencing this to realize how it can affect you, but I learned the hard way and am now ready to change that. Okay, so here's the honest truth, is that guys could definitely do a better job at really paying attention and listening to what women are actually saying and the actions that they're actually doing at the beginning of the courtship. Because let's be completely honest with ourselves, guys. If it's been a long time since we've gotten any, when we finally get a girl that agrees to a date with us and says yes, all we're thinking about is, how can I impress her? And, oh, she's so pretty, I don't want to ruin this. And what can I do? And what can I do? And we don't stop and think, well, wait, I need to be asking her questions that are going to allow her to give certain answers, that are going to let me really know what her personality's like, what her past history's like, what her dating scenario's been like in her past. And because we're so focused on A, not messing up, and B, trying to get a hookup, we will hear girls say things and completely ignore it. I've been on dates before in the past where, I heard girls say things like, oh yeah, well, all of my exes were abusive. And my thought was like, well, I'm not going to be abusive because I'm going to be a nice guy and blah, blah, blah. And then come to find out, oh, well, she was starting some of those fights in those relationships. And she was the one that was coming on too strong. And as we were dating, she was the one that was over texting, over calling, being jealous when I told her I'd be going to a party with friends or asking me where I'd been or whatever, you know? But if I was being honest with myself, on that first date that we were on, she said, I've been in the past, everybody always treats me wrong. She had this story as if she's always the victim in every single relationship. That's a big red flag. Like the fact that somebody's saying that they're always the victim, they're always one being done wrong, that means they're not doing enough self-introspection to see what they could possibly be doing. Like I know in my dating journey, for a lot of years, I was mad at women. And then one day I just looked up and like, wait a minute, like there were some good girls in there. Like they couldn't have all been crazy. You are the common denominator in all this stuff. You must be a part of the problem. There must be something about your dating patterns or the way you're showing up or how you're presenting yourself to women that is causing you to have less success. Maybe we should look at that. So I say this to say a big one is to really listen to women when they tell you stories about their dating past. You know, women that say they've been divorced a bunch of times or they were married for like 1 or 2 years and then they broke it off, or you know, like I said, having a victim mentality. Oh, all the guys I've ever been with have done me wrong. Or if you're at dinner and she talks to the server a certain way, or you take her on like a relatively cheapo date, which I advised in the beginning, and she's complaining about how, oh, well, I've been to other more fancier restaurants, or this other guy took me out to this other thing, blah, 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 blah. Like anytime a woman's doing stuff like that, or showing a lack of appreciation, or not saying thank you when you do certain things, or is trying to order you around to do things on the date, these are all indicators that she's probably one of those women that doesn't have her head completely on straight, or she's been hurt in the past. And unfortunately, hurt people. Like you're thinking when she says she's been hurt in the past, that you're going to be that new guy that's not going to hurt her. And you're going to be a totally nice guy and give her a whole new world of possibilities in terms of the dating realm. And what you're not hearing is that when she's saying, I always get hurt, that she is a wounded puppy, and wounded puppies tend to fight back. They bite, they scratch, they claw. They don't want to listen to nobody. So you're gonna be the guy that's listening to all my stuff, obviously, and is trying to like lead your relationship. And you have somebody there that, because she's afraid of men, doesn't want to listen to you, and is afraid you're gonna take her into like levels of unsafety, so the stuff. These are the women that you don't want to date, because what's gonna happen is if you decide to date them, at some point down the line, a time's gonna come where she's going to do something that upsets you. It just, even the women that are most well-meaning, when they're getting to know you, they're going to do something of some kind that's going to possibly upset you. And when you bring it to her, that's not a thing, or why would you say that about me? Or she's going to start crying, whatever. And then at that point, anytime you guys get into a fight, well, no, you're the one to blame. It's your fault, yada, yada, yada. And then you're going to get tired of it and break it off. And that's when she's going to try to retaliate and go after people that are in your circle to talk bad about you, or to post up stuff about you on social media, or a plethora of other things that women do. I've seen some videos this week about retaliations of things that women have done when a guy just didn't want to see him anymore, that would blow your mind, that I may say for a different show. But I generally try to keep the show positive, because ultimately, I think if you're trying to get with women, you need to focus more on the positive things women bring to the table versus the bad things. But that said, like, really do a better job of doing due diligence early on. Again, your little head's going to be like, oh, girl, woman, smells good, nice, I want to do things. Dude, if you can here's another thing too. If you can delay hookup gratification a little bit longer than you're used to, that'll really give you time to start seeing how consistent a woman is in her behavior and what she's really about, how she actually treats people. It'll give you more time to talk to her about her dating history and about the things that have gone wrong. If she could see anything in her past whereby she was actually the one that was responsible, you can hear stories about, how she cheated on her last boyfriends, or how her last boyfriend cheated on her, or how she could sometimes get a little aggressive. Like, it's interesting because the whole, obviously, Young Jeezy and Jeannie Mae are now getting a divorce that he filed for, right? And so everybody's making some brouhaha about like, oh, she must have done something bad because the fact that he filed means that this is a really big deal. But I'm like, if you look at interviews that Jeannie Mae was doing back in like 2017, 2018, she said on one of the shows, well, my grandma, my mom, and me, all the history of being yellers and, really being stuck up and whatever. And it wasn't until Jesus came along that I recognized that behavior. But she had 41 years of that behavior. So Jeezy comes along, and the first fight they get in, she's trying to be argumentative and yelling and cursing. and he didn't think that was going to happen, or that was going to keep happening long term. Like, women telling themselves, dude, I'm telling you, women cannot hold up the facade of having it all together longer than like 3 or 4 months. But what most guys are trying to do is rush into a relationship after like a month and a half or 2 or 3 good dates, thinking, I already know that she's cool. She looks hot and attractive. We've done it a couple times. We cuddled up and had deep conversations. And so therefore, she must be a great one. And you are giving these women too much credit early on. Don't do that, because they don't do it to us. Most women don't assume after a month of dating that, oh, this guy's got his stuff together, I automatically trust him. No, they do their 2 to 3 months of due diligence, in part, honestly, because they find that in their past, when they didn't do that, they ended up with guys that weren't the best guys. So now you got to think that same way, okay? Don't assume because she looks hot and you have a few good conversations that she's going to be all there, because you're in the process, you're not doing the proper vetting that's going to allow you to see that she could potentially be a woman that ends up doing the stuff that these women are doing against Russell Brand. Again, all the stuff's alleged right now. I said my piece about how I don't like the fact that we're always going to judge people now based on public opinion versus like court opinion. Like, all these anonymous people are coming out and saying he did this stuff, and they just now filed a police report about this stuff like a day ago. So again, that's a whole different show. But the point is this, is that, yeah, so that's how you can be better at this, is be more patient in the beginning, ask better questions, don't try to hook up so fast right away, and really, really pace out 2 to 3 months time to really get to know this person before you start having any thoughts of being in a relationship, and really listen to the stories women are telling you, what they're saying about their exes and what they're saying about their family life, what they're saying about their dating life, about, how often they hook up with people. Like, all these things will give you a better idea of what she's going to be like on the other end should a breakup happen. So hopefully, guys, this helps you out. All right, guys. So we'll go over one more question for now, and then we will get into the meat of the show, because I am very excited, because you guys are about to learn some stuff and about to see some stuff from my past that's going to blow your mind. All right. Ugh. All right. So let's see. Oh, this is a good one. Okay. So there was a comment that was left by a woman under my 3 things she's feeling when she ignores you video. And that's another video that's pretty popular on my page, because I talk about reasons that guys may not have thought of as to why women start to pull away and ignore you. And a lot of times it's behaviors that you're unaware of, much like we're going to talk about later on in this show. So this woman commented, she said, I went on one date with someone, only knew him 1 week. He went off on me twice for not calling for 1 day, but he hadn't called me either. People need to understand that they are strangers. We have full, busy lives before meeting you and may not want to talk every day while in the dating phase. People want to skip the courting period and go straight to being in a serious relationship. After 1 date, you know nothing about a person, or even if you want to have a second date with them. This type of behavior is unacceptable. It comes across as possessive, desperate, demanding, and controlling. I let him know that I was no longer interested. Now, I really do appreciate her comment. She does get one thing wrong, though, as it pertains to men, right? Because notice what she says. She says, after 1 date, you know nothing about a person, or even if you want to have a second date with them. So I need you to hear that, guys, because that is not typically true for us, but that is their reality. Their reality is that after 1 date, they know nothing about you. And you're thinking to yourself, you're thinking logically, you're thinking, but we had a conversation. I told her my license, Dick's license, she knows a little about me. Don't take what she's saying literally. What she's saying is, in the grand scheme of knowing a person, she knows like a fingernail as much about you. Like, in comparison to her family, her long-time close personal friends, other guys that she's known for a longer time that she's dated or whatever like that. Like, in the span of all that, right? Emotionally, you are still a stranger to her at the end of that first date. And what most guys don't get, because we analyze stuff so fast, we're analyzing, she looks good, she sounds good, she smells sweet, she's got boobs, she's curvy, she has similar likes to me. I think I can already see myself liking this person. Like, the way we analyze women is very much like a robot. If after that first date we say, yep, these things line up and I would bang her, then we're ready for a second date. We're ready for a hookup that night and are ready for a second date. And this lets you know that she's telling you guys that women do not operate that way in general. there are some unicorns out there. I got news for you. You're probably not dating a unicorn. You're probably dating a woman right now that would legitimately get with you in a relationship if you were able to be more patient. But like this woman said, after that, they went on one date, knew her for 1 week, and he's already going off on her for not calling her. Why does she owe him that? They're not in a relationship. She barely knows him. She had a good time on a date, but all of a sudden he's going off on her because he got in his feelings about things, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But he got his feelings about things, and that made her feel unsafe. It made him look unstable to her. And now she goes from this guy has potential to whoa, he gave me the ick feeling. I'm out of here, right? So listen to this woman's words, guys. Sometimes you are legitimately losing out on women that would actually date you because you're in your head thinking, you're getting all anxious and thinking, I got to know what she's about now. She's got to tell me these things and she's not calling me right away and what's going on. And women are just trying to go with the flow. They're going on their natural instinct, which is to wait 2 to 3 months, which gives them time to validate you, to see consistency in you, to think about you, to talk about you to her girlfriends, and to do all these things that if you wait 3 months, are going to have her feeling so strong for you, it's going to be very, very hard to let her go. But y'all don't want to do that. Y'all want to go on my pull away test video and say, well, they're pulling away, they're playing games, and you're not looking at what you're doing. And in fact, next week I have a special guest that's going to be coming on the show that really talks about patterns that guys have and how we could err to be more patient in our dating process in order to better attract women. But needless to say, this woman is absolutely right. Like, this type of behavior is unacceptable. And you can see, she says how it's coming across. It's coming across as possessive, desperate, demanding, and controlling, all because he couldn't wait. And he was in his feelings about she's not calling me, which again, it's his job to call her to ask for a date. So when he called her a week later, he should have called to ask for a date instead of calling and say, why didn't you call me or text me? It's not their job. Their job is to wait for you to call them to ask them on a date. If they're not texting you between dates, hey, I got news for you. You shouldn't be texting Kathy anyway. You should be the guy that has other things going on when you're not in front of the girl that you're trying to date. And then when you do reach out to her, you're asking for the date. That's it. That's it. Your dating life could be so much easier if you would just stay off the phone. If you would just use the phone like a weapon, only use it in the time when it's needed to be used, which is to ask for dates. You would have so much more of a better shot of being able to get with the majority of women if you just stayed the freak off the phone. That's why I have a whole book about texting like a boss, 21 texting commandments, because there are too many guys out there that are doing the wrong kind of texting and honestly texting and calling too much, and it kills women's libido for you. Like, you reaching out to her to try to do all this texting, that feels like feminine energy. So all you're doing is coming across like a chick. Women that want masculine men aren't going to like that. So I don't care if we are in the texting age, because I'm an older guy that's been able to date younger women where I don't text and call them. Newsflash, they still enjoy my company and still are immensely happy to see me. All right. So I'm just giving you guys that 2 cents. But anyway, hopefully this helps out. And thank you, lady, for leaving that comment. All right. So we're going to get into the crux of the show. Let me get my little drink of water here because I got a lot to say about this. Watch it flow. Okay. So guys, all right, here we go. So today we are going to be talking about, are you accidentally simping, how to tell, and how to stop. Oh, somebody left a comment. Okay, so backtrack a little bit. Somebody left a comment in the chat. They said, hey, I really like that video you released about how one of your subscribers can't get used to hotter women checking him out since he was so used to a certain type of woman checking him out. I'm dealing with it too, and I don't know how to adapt. Isn't that great? Well, it's a gift and a curse, because you spend your whole life not being able to get any women, and then you get women that are just kind of like, okay, and you think that that's it. That's the ceiling that you get, right? And then you get to where you have enough skill set and you've worked yourself up enough to where legitimately attractive, like 8s, 9s, and 10s are going to be coming to you and telling you how attractive you are. And I got to be honest, guy, it feels weird. And especially if you were in the practice, like, for example, from ages 0 to like 22, 23, right? I wasn't getting a whole lot of comments from women about how cute and attractive I was. I just wasn't, So at the point where I started dating women that would tell me that, there's still a subconscious part of my mind that's still like, nah, like you got the right guy. Is it somebody else behind me? Like it's me, right? Like it's me, right? And so I want you to understand that that feeling doesn't necessarily ever go away just because it's happening to you more and more, all right? And this is what I talk about on the show, where I say that sometimes if you've been a person that had a bad dating life and it's starting to get good, you have to really focus on ignoring what you're thinking and feeling and going with the evidence at hand. So if you're thinking to yourself, I'm an okay guy, these 3 girls in front of me are saying I'm so attractive, what are they talking about? Understand, one, that's just some leftover residual negativity, because when people weren't complimenting you or they were saying you were just kind of whatever, that you internalize that. And so your brain's going to now subconsciously be thinking that thought, right? So you got to understand that feeling is going to come, but that just because you had that feeling, that doesn't mean that your feeling is accurate, because the reality is you are one perspective and yours isn't always right. And so if I'm saying to myself, I'm not really all that attractive, and I have 3 girls in front of me that are saying I am attractive, I'm going with them. I'm sorry, because it doesn't matter. Your thoughts about you, they matter in the terms of you want to build up your self-confidence to be able to approach women. But in terms of how you ultimately feel about how you really look or how you judge your looks on a 1 to 10 scale, all that matters is, what is the consumer saying? If the consumer out there, which in this case is women, is saying that you are a dynamite, 8, 9, and 10, you dress well, you smell great, you treat women good, you are able to help them feel good about themselves and establish trust in things, that's all that matters. And speaking of that, that's really what matters to women, because how you look aesthetically isn't nearly as important to them as how you're making them feel. So let's say, for argument's sake, you are a middle of the line 5, but you make women on dates feel like they're 11s. They're going to see you as an 11 because you make them feel like an 11. And all we care about is women's feelings and how they correlate with how they view you. You ain't got to be the best looking thing in the world, but if you make them feel like they have the best feeling in the world ever, and therefore their feelings, their emotions are tied together, then that's all they're going to judge you on. And so from their lens, they're looking at the lens of you as like, he's emotionally there for me. He makes me feel things. He's a great lover. He's taking me on all these adventures. And and this is the vessel that it's happening in. So now this vessel becomes a 10, even if the aesthetics of the vessel are a 10. And you got to understand, how we're viewing ourselves and how women are viewing us are totally different, because we judge women based on curves and a voluptuous shape and having like smoothness on their skin. And we're trying to think that they're going to do the same for us. And for the most of the time, that's not true. Like, I know there's a narrative out there about women want a guy with muscles and 6-pack abs, yada, yada, yada. I've never been that guy. I've never been a guy that's had 6-pack abs. I'm not flabby in any way, but I'm like, relatively lean. But, women across the board have told me, oh, you're so cute. You're so handsome. Oh my God, I just want to touch you all the time, blah, 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 blah. And I'm thinking like me with I can see a rib here, or me that didn't do his hair right today, or me that didn't maybe shave the right way, like me. Again, am I going to fight the person in front of me? Am I going to fight the customer? Is the customer going to come to my store and say, hey, I want to be with you, and me be like, oh, but I have these flaws in me, and oh my God, like why would I do that? I'm going to be like, if she don't see the flaw, it don't exist. You know what? You're right. Appreciate the compliment and move on. So understand, like I said, this may never go away in your brain, but that does not mean that you have to listen to your negative side. You can just be like, but she's saying I'm cute, I'm going to shut it up, or they're going to say, thank you very much, and move on. So that's the best you can do. That's what I do. Again, 41. I didn't really get into my dating stride into my early 20s, so I still recognize that I have initial thoughts that come up when women compliment me. I just learned not to vocalize those, because here's the thing. It's one thing if she says, hey, you're hot, and then you just say, okay, it is what it is. Appreciate it, blah, blah, blah. But at the point that you start saying, you think I'm hot, or oh my God, you think, oh, but what about this thing over here, blah, blah. Like, now you're basically telling her she's wrong. You're telling the person that wants to buy you as the product that whatever they're thinking about you, how dare they? How dare they think that you're a hot guy when you know you're ugly? Doesn't even make sense, right? But that's what we do to ourselves all the time. So we have to get out of the habit of that and appreciate that somebody else is appreciating and seeing things about us that maybe we don't even see in ourselves, So hopefully that helps you out. And thank you for the comment down there. All right. So I'm going to get into the main show, and I'll answer any other comments that I get later on. So today we're talking about accidentally simping. Are you accidentally simping in your everyday life? I really thought about this story because I was rummaging through one of my old email accounts. And I was looking at like messages that go as far back as my college years, right? And as I told you guys, in my college years, I was not the great dater, right? But I still consider myself a decent enough guy, a nice guy, a friendly guy who would never say things to women that were out of pocket or who wouldn't send sappy messages or try to do whatever. And it's interesting how history has a way of helping us to distort how we actually were, or even in the current present, how we're acting right now around women. Because most people are going to try to be the heroes in their own story, meaning that we're going to see every action that we do as a correct action. And if the action that we're doing doesn't get us the results that we want, it's not that the action was bad, it's that that other person was not accepting of our actions and they were in the wrong and we ultimately did everything right. And so I stress this because I get many, many comments and many, many messages from guys, something akin to like, I was seeing a girl and things are great at first, and then something happened, and now she's pulling away, or she's not answering back as much as she was, or she wants to suddenly dump me, and I did everything right. She's crazy. I don't know what's going on. And those guys used to be me. I used to also be that same guy that was like, well, she just pulled away, and I was doing everything I can, yada, yada, yada. But again, and looking back, I had to, and when I started doing this kind of stuff and giving advice to guys, and when I wrote my first book, No Girls for You, The Ultimate Guide to Losing the Girl of Your Dreams, which you can get at the website, I did that book because I thought I knew everything about dating. And then I went back to school for a semester and I reconnected with a friend of mine and we started hanging out a lot. And I could tell she had a crush on me. And I thought I knew everything. And then I went to try to make some moves, but I didn't make some moves and it messed me up. And we didn't get together. And as a result of that, I ended up flunking out my first senior year of college. So that summer, I really sat with myself and said, okay, look, we got to figure out this whole dating thing. We got to figure out what's going on. Like, all these girls can't be crazy. And in that last situation, it was definitely you. You definitely knew what moves to make. You didn't make them. You knew what things to say and what she wanted you to say and how she wanted to feel. You did none of that. It is you. So I had to sit down and really analyze all the ways that I had messed up. And that resulted in me creating a book, which started this whole journey of me giving dating advice, right? But and doing that research, I actually looked back on messages that I had sent to previous girls that I had had crushes on where it didn't work out. And I had to tell them off and let them know that they hurt my feelings. So you guys are in for a treat today because I actually found one of these messages that I sent. I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. So let's see. Let's get this here right here. I'm going to read this to you. So this is going to be an example of a simp message that I sent a woman I had a crush on back in my college days, right? And at the time when I was writing this, I was not aware that the way I was presenting it and how I was talking to her was simp language, all right? So this is legitimately, you see the date on this thing? The date on this thing, I wrote this December 19th, 2002. So I'll set the scene for you, right? There had been a woman that I was friends with, that we were in the same classes together. I had a huge crush on her, and she had a crush on me, or so I heard. But what happened was I started to do that thing that nice guys do where it's like, you don't know what to say to her. So you start kind of getting awkward around her and then you start getting kind of distant. But there were all kinds of signals during the course of that semester from her that indicated she not only liked me, but she wanted to do stuff with me. And I was just so nervous and afraid. And like there'd be times where she'd invite me over for a study session at her apartment. And then she'd be like, well, I guess I'm going to go to bed now. And I'd be like, okay, great. See you tomorrow. Do. And a bunch of stuff like that happened. And in hindsight, I missed out, right? So at some point, I finally, look at my big screen for a minute. So at some point, I finally realized, oh crap, this girl has a crush on me. And I called her up and said, hey, so the reason I've been acting weird around you is because, I kind of like you. And her response was like, oh yeah, well, I kind of got that idea because you've been kind of acting weird or whatever. It's like, okay, great. So I thought at that point, because now I told her that I liked her, that it was going to be all rainbows and sunshine from here. Like, she knows I like her and I know she likes me. So we're going to start going out and making out and doing whatever. And that did not happen. In fact, what happened was the opposite, where in class, she would suddenly avoid me. She wouldn't invite me to her apartment anymore. Or when she did, it'd be like, as long as other people were there, there'd be times when I would invite her out to the movies and then she'd bring another friend along. So I was definitely like not getting it at all. I'm thinking, but she showed up, so she still likes me. Anyway, so the kicker came when I got her a CD. She had an artist that she liked, and her new CD had come out. So I went and got this artist CD. And I remember I went to her apartment and knocked on the door and dropped it off to her. And there were other people over there. And she was just like, oh, thanks, appreciate it. And then that was it. So fast forward to, there's now like the end of the semester. At this point, I had signed up to go on a theater tour. So I was going to be out of school for a semester, which means I wouldn't see her. So I'm thinking, I got her this gift. She knows I'm going to be going out of town for 5 months, and she won't see me till next year. So at the very least, she's going to either thank me for the gift, or she's going to at least, say bye to me before the semester's over with. And none of those things happened. She didn't say thank you for the gift, and she left town before she could say bye to me at all. And I was pissed. All right. So that sets the stage for my simp letter, which we will now get into, right? So this is from Thursday, December 19th, 2002. I sent this after the semester was over and I was at home. And I said to her, I just want you to know that I was really upset by your seemingly complete denial of my existence the last few days I was here. Look, I could sit here all day and try to make up stories about why you felt the need to avoid me the last week I was here, or why you didn't feel the need to at least say bye to me before you left. But to be honest with you, I'm tired of assuming things about you that may or may not be true. All I can do is be responsible for what I'm thinking and how I'm feeling. I blanked out her name because she has a very odd name that would be easy to find. So I said, so-and-so, when I gave you your Christmas gift, I wasn't expecting anything in return except a thank you. Everyone else I gave a gift or letter to said thank you. I spent a lot of time thinking about what to get you, even though I did not expect you to get me anything in return, except for a thank you. It would have meant so much more to me than getting me something. Imagine today, this would be a text. Imagine how long this text would be on somebody's phone, right? Anyway, I said, and yet I didn't hear from you the whole week. Even when we were in class for the stagecraft exam, because we were in the theater program together, you didn't come over and say, hey, I appreciate the gift, thanks. I spent even more time thinking about what to write you in the letter, because I not only did I leave her a gift, I also wrote her a simp letter that I then went to her door and left at her door, which she also did not respond to. So then I said, and again, no acknowledgement that you even got the letter. So then I thought, well, at least she knows it's my last week here. Maybe we'll at least get to say bye to each other. Of course, by that time, you had left and I didn't get to see you. Cue the music. So sad. It's funny being this old. I wrote this when I was 20 years old. So I can look back at this now almost 20 years ago and be like, man, like I was in that space where I just needed to let her know my feelings and that she hurt me. And I didn't know things about things like indifference or things like, not letting my emotions show or not telling women how I feel about them because they would come to me. Like I knew none of this stuff. So this is just me going off my instinct, which at the time was like, you know what? If I just rationally reach out to her and tell her how I'm feeling and what she did to hurt my feelings, then she'll rationally come back and say, hey, I did not hurt your feelings. I'm so sorry. I actually do like you. And thank you for the gift. And hey, when you get back, I would love to see you. Because in my logical mind, that's what was supposed to happen. So in a sense, it's almost like I was trying to use this message as a means to control the narrative of how she was going to act next, which is a very simpish thing to do. But again, at the time, I wasn't aware this was simp behavior. Continuing on, again, this is a long-ass letter. It says, now, as I said, I do not feel I'm in any rightful position to try and guess or assume what your feelings towards me were or why it is these events took place. I am in a position, however, to express how I felt. I'm all about the feelings back then. And so, it hurt me. Not just because you didn't say thank you, but because you barely acknowledged the fact that I was even here. My intention in the last weeks were not at all to try to get you into a boyfriend or girlfriend relationship with me. Spoiler, it actually was. Like I legit was all gaga for her. And I was hoping the things I was doing was going to make her see that and want to be with me. And I could lie to myself at the time thinking that wasn't what was happening. But in hindsight, that's what was going on. And that's what, think about any situation you've been in where you've been like texting a woman, well, I just want you to know, blah, 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 blah. You're doing that because you're hurt. You want to get your feelings across. And you hope by doing that she's going to acquiesce and say, oh, I see how you're feeling. I'm sorry. I feel those things too. It's all in the guise of we want them to feel the same things so we can get things popping, whether it's in a relationship, hookup situation, or whatever. We're hurt. We're hurt. It is what it is, Let's see. But to show you that I enjoyed the friendship relationship that we had. Yeah, I got her a gift and wrote her a note just trying to be her friend. It's bullcrap past me. It's kind of cool roasting myself. Anyway, so when I receive signals that appear to be saying, don't get near me at all, or I don't want to talk to him, it makes it difficult for me to understand. And all I have wanted from day one, so-and-so, is for you to be upfront and honest with me. That's why I wrote the stuff in that letter. I didn't want you to have to assume anymore why I was acting the way I did. I wanted you to know. So, I always tell you guys that, like, we want women so bad to just know how we feel, and that's not necessary. This is my history. So I don't want you to think I don't have experience in the things that I'm talking about that do not work. Us trying to get our feelings across to women, you can see in this letter, I wanted her to know that I care and that I feel things, and here's a gift, and here's a letter, and none of that stuff matters. All that matters is, what is the woman actually feeling about you? You can spew your feelings all day long, but if she doesn't have similar feelings, then she doesn't care what your feelings are, which is why you, of the two of you, should not express them until, at the very least, she comes to you and says, hey, just so you know, I have feelings. Because as much as we get the narrative of, like, guys don't have feelings, we have very, very strong feelings. But as you can see, in society in general, those feelings aren't really accepted or liked when we're trying to express them out, Anyway, I said, but with you, you never gave me the opportunity to know why you were acting the way you were, or how you were really feeling about the situation between us. I care about you, so-and-so, and oh, by the way, I used her name a whole lot in this message because I had seen something about how, like, if you say somebody's name more than 3 times in a message, it makes them feel closer to you. So even in this message, I was trying to do things that would make her change her mind and think and feel things about me. Anyway, I care about you, so-and-so, and all I want to know is what you want. I want to be able to understand you better so that I can learn to speak your language. This is before love languages, by the way. Regardless of if we ever go out or not. Bullcrap lie. At least that way we'll be on the same page instead of having to always guess at what the other one is really trying to say when they do something. And then I said, that's all that's in my mind right now. Have a good holiday, great new year, and a happy birthday, because her birthday's in January and mine was also in January. So that was the simpish letter that I sent to a girl that I was crushing on back when I was in my junior year of college, right? And again, I point this out because this is like a month before I went on tour. I was around 5 other dudes during the tour. I got to start going out with these guys and seeing how they were talking to women and how they were interacting and how they were able to get women to go back to the bedroom after barely knowing them. And I'm trying to hook up with these girls I've known for years. And it's like, oh, but emotions and feelings, and we should know each other. And nothing was happening, right? And it was also a month before I really started studying up on the ins and outs of how dating works. That's when I found people like Doc Love, like David D'Angelo, whose real name is Evan Pagan, and these other various guys that opened up my brain to, like, oh, wait, everything that I'm doing that I think is going to make me the good guy in the situation is actually making me a simp. Now, I don't think simp was a term back then, but the point is that I knew that was making me a guy that was less than in women's eyes. But before that happened, I wrote that letter. And that guy in that letter had no idea that the things he was writing, the actions he was trying to do, the things he was trying to say to her were examples of him being a simp, basically, And so it's important that I'm pointing this out because there are some of you right now that I said, you leave comments on my pages or you write to me saying, I don't understand what's going on, this is that. And when people write me, I always try to say, okay, so really give me the details of the situation. Like a guy just telling me, well, I talked to this girl for a while and then she suddenly lost interest, tells me nothing. What does tell me something is, what things were you talking about? What things were you saying to her when you were going on dates? What kind of dates were you having? How much time were you spending with her? I'm like literally like an analytical doctor of your situation. Like, what things were all going on that can help me better assess your situation? And when I ask guys those questions, and they start saying things like, oh, well, I was texting her like every single day and texting her good morning text all the time. And yeah, I would go on a date with her, then text her right afterwards. And then, I would be telling her how I feel about things. And I would ask her if she sees us being in a relationship and where her feelings are at. I can diagnose that as, oh, you're doing simp behavior. And I don't think most guys are actually aware that they're doing simp behavior because this is where analytical logic, as I've said time and time again, gets us in trouble. Because we're analytical logic people, we take the actions that we're doing, and then we purposely make connections as to why they make sense. So for example, right, a woman goes 2 days between dates without contacting you. Your rational brain is going to start to think, okay, wait, she hasn't texted me in 2 days, but she said she liked me, but she's not texting me. And I've read a thing before about how women play hard to get. Oh my God, she's playing hard to get. So she's playing games. So now that I've made that connection, I have to let her know that her playing games is something that I won't tolerate, and then she'll stop playing the game. So we analyze all that, and then we go and text her, hey, stop playing the don't text me game. That's annoying me. And we're thinking that that's going to be the rational, logical way to handle the situation. And what it's actually doing is making you look like a simp. And when you're in it and you're in your feelings and you're really liking a girl, it's very, very hard to be able to analyze that you're actually acting like a simp. Now, I will say this is that it is very beneficial to you if you are understanding of what behaviors you're doing right now that are actually simpish behaviors. Because here's the thing. If you just stay in the world of make-believe and stay in the world of like everything you do is right, you're the hero of your own story, and everything you're doing is perfectly okay. And if women don't like it, then whatever. You're missing out on women that would legitimately date you if you got rid of some of that simp behavior. How do I know that? Because guess what, guys? I also have proof of that. So not only do I have proof of my simp letter that I sent, but I went away from school for 5 months. During this 5-month tour is when I started studying up on how to attract women. And one of the things it said was like, when women start to pull away, the worst thing you could do is keep trying to run in and try to catch them. What you do is you also pull back. So you know what I did? During the 5 months I was on that tour, I pulled back. I didn't reach out to her. I didn't email her. There would be times when I would go back into the state that my school was in, and I would go down to my school and visit some of my friends, and I would purposely not reach out to her. I think I saw her all like one time when the other theater people were going to go to a dinner afterwards, and I went and I saw her there, and I was just like, hey, what's up? How things going? I sat, and here's where the first sign I got that stuff worked though, is that I saw her there, right? I went and sat down first, and I made sure I sat far away at the other end of the room that we were in to eat, because I didn't want to give her the idea that I was going to try to purposely sit next to her, thus me showing that I wasn't overheard, so I had feelings. And lo and behold, guess who comes to the table and sits right the freak across from me? The very same girl that I wrote this letter to 2 months prior. And even then, I was talking to everybody around her and occasionally would say some stuff to her, and then other people, right? So tour ends, and I'm now back in my home state, and she's also in the same home state, but like an hour away from me because she lives close to the school that I do, right? And so out of nowhere, she sends me a message. And guess what, guys? I had that message. Here is the message that this woman sent me literally almost exactly 5 months after I sent my simp message, right? Here's the message. The message says, I was just thinking about you the other day, and I was wondering how you were doing. I hope all is well with the touring play. I looked on the website about some upcoming auditions, but nothing was listed. I really hope you're doing well. I miss you. Give me a call. Look at that. Look at that. So there you go. I didn't have to do anything in the span of that 5 months that I was gone. I pulled away. I didn't talk to her, none of that stuff. And what was the result? The result was she came to me and told me how much she missed me and that she wants to see me. And this is the same girl that after that happened, at this time I was selling vacuum cleaners, and I had to go to her area to do a demonstration. And so I told her, hey, I'm coming down to your area to do this demonstration. And once I'm done with the demonstration, if you're available, I'd love to see you. Her instant response, oh, that'd be so great. I'd love to see the snap. So I go and do the little presentation, after which I go right to her apartment. And I'm thinking, I'm gonna just go there, say, hey, what's up? Hang out a little bit, watch some TV, maybe go out and get some food, and then head on my merry way, right? And again, I'm still a virgin at this point in time, and I was still a virgin for another year and a half after this. Spoiler. But anyway, I get to her door. She opens the door, and what do I see? I see her dressed head to toe in the sexiest pair of silky pajamas I've ever seen on a woman. And if we go back to what Dear Juan said, where he said, I can't get used to hotter women checking out since I'm so used to a certain type of woman checking him out, whatever. Like he said he's dealing with that too, where he can't get in his head that women would actually be complimenting him. I still, even though I'd been studying stuff and I looked up what these things mean and what the signals women will show, I still was not in the practice of actually having a woman do things that indicated she was ready to do stuff with me. So when I opened the door and I saw her in sexy pajamas, my thought was like, okay, but she could just be comfortable on a Saturday wearing this stuff. So I'm just going to go in and talk to her like regular. Didn't do anything the whole time. So still missed out. And then there were still times after that where she would be throwing signals and I just didn't get it. And then by the time I got it, she'd be on to somebody else. So that situation never ended up happening in terms of her. But the point is that you can see from that message that she was all ready to do stuff simply by me not having any simp behavior. I had shown her that I wasn't fazed by her. I showed her that I didn't need her in my life. And that's the stuff that actually draws women in when you're showing masculine strength and when you're moving about in a way that indicates to them that you have a take it or leave it attitude. But again, if you're constantly stuck in everything you do is absolutely right, then you're going to be in simp mode. And it's very important for you to analyze that. So with all that said, I'm going to give you 8 examples of simp behavior that you may be unaware of, that you can start looking at now to try to get rid of. Because when you get rid of these behaviors, you're going to start to see that more women are going to see you as less of a simp and be more apt to want to stay on. All right. So here we go. First example of simp behavior is trying to rationally argue with a woman to feel things for you. Guys, I get it. You go on a couple of dates and all of a sudden she starts pulling away. You can't understand what's going on in your rational head. So you think if I just tell her that she's feeling things for me or that I know you've been hurt in the past and you shouldn't be afraid of this love that I'm trying to bring to you, that she's going to understand that and that she's going to be willing to date you. It does not work that way. All women care about, again, are their feelings. And those feelings have to develop naturally within them in order for them to feel things for you. So this is why you can't push the agenda. You can't be the one going to them and saying, so it's been 3 dates. How do you feel about me? Where do you think this thing's going? Because you asking those questions is you asking for approval. And asking for approval, say it with me now, is a simp behavior that's going to cause her to feel less feelings for you. All right. So get rid of that altogether. No more trying to talk to women and rationalize why they should be feeling things or why you think they're feeling things, but they're so afraid to feel those things. Because women that want you, ultimately, they're not going to do that. Like a woman that's had bad experiences in the past will still be ready to love you if she's been able to naturally build to that point herself. You cannot argue into a woman her feeling things for you. The second example of simp behavior that you need to get rid of is constantly asking her what her needs are. You saying things like, well, what do you need? Or like all those R&B songs that are like, baby, you tell me what you want me to do and I'll go ahead and do it. It sounds lovely on a song. It sounds lovely when you're playing the song while you're banging her brains out. But you actually saying that comes across as simp behavior and she's going to lose interest. The third example of simp behavior that you may be unaware of is constantly seeking her approval or decision input. Guys, I got news for you. Most women do not care if you make all the decisions. The majority of them spend their workday having to make decisions, and it honestly wears out their energy and it makes them use a side of their brain that they don't typically want to use, and that honestly men use better. Like men are typically better at analyzing and making decisions on things, not because women can't, but because it doesn't wear us down as easily. It's like, it'd be akin to a guy that can reasonably have emotional intelligence and talk about emotions with women. We can do it, but I don't know about you. Talking about emotions to women, about what they're feeling and having to hold on to that, being empathetic, it wears me out relatively fast, right? Like that's not my natural setting. I can do it, but it's not my natural setting. Women can make decisions, but it's not their natural setting. They want to be able to go with the flow. They want to show up in their feminine presence and say, hey, you got this. I'm going to sit back and trust you and be here for the ride. And you guys want to ask them, well, is it okay if we do this? Or do you like this princess? Or, well, I want to take us on this date or this date or this date, but which one do you want to do? That is actually simp behavior, because a real man would be able to just say, hey, babe, get your clothes on, we're going here. Or, hey, I decided to do this. You coming along or what? Like, that's going to give more masculine strength and energy than you trying to ask her for stuff or seek her approval on things. Like women across the board don't get their panties wet for that. Real talk. The fourth example of simp behavior that you're unaware of, you need to stop, is continuing to do things for her when she's shown she's not interested. If you go back to my little simp letter there, I pretty much tell you guys in the message that like she already told me, or she already gave the indication that she wasn't interested, what was I doing? I was still getting her gifts. I was still writing her messages. I was still trying to tell her emotionally how I felt. At the point where a woman is indicating that she's either pulling away or she's not interested, you full stop, because they're going to get better results if she pulls away a bit and you just say, okay, she's pulling away, cool, I'll be over here. You're going to get a better chance of her coming back to you, because now you're not chasing her, she's coming towards you. And as I always say, if she's chasing you, she can't be replacing you. But when you're chasing her, and when you're trying to constantly show her you like her, and you like her, you like her, even if she says she's not, then that's going to push her away instead of keep her in your good graces. So you got to stop reaching out to women, especially like you guys that you have a crush on a woman and she wants to be just friends. And now you're thinking, okay, I'm going to be her friend, but I'm going to still pay for her meals and still get her little gifts here and there and still escort her to things when she doesn't have a date. She don't deserve none of that. Take all that behavior off the table, because unless she's a girlfriend, she doesn't deserve it. And you're more apt to get her as a girlfriend if you stop that behavior, as if to say to her, this is reserved for that special someone in my life. Until you decide you want to be that person, you don't get this behavior. Pretty simple, right? The fifth example of simp behavior that you're unaware of is letting her decisions emotionally get to you. In my simp letter that I just read you guys, I was very much in my feelings. She didn't say bye to me before the semester was over. She didn't thank me for my gift. And now I'm going to be mad and upset and hurt. And this is why I tell you guys, it's better to be indifferent, because I went through being a guy that was not indifferent to outcomes and let every single little decision that a woman made affect how I felt about myself, and whether she would give me some or not affected me, whether she would love on me or not affected me, whether she would talk to me or not affected me. And all that stuff is simp behavior. Like, you are allowing how a woman is moving about in the world to determine how you're going to feel. And you're supposed to be the stoic one. You're supposed to be the one that whether she decides to see you or not, you're like, okay, there's other people out there. And I know it can take a while to get there, because when you're younger and you haven't dated a whole lot of people, every woman that comes across your plate is like the end all be all. This is the one that I have to make it work, because I don't know if I'll get another shot at this. I'm telling you, you will get another shot at this, especially the older you get and the more status you get and the more figured out your life is. Women will be knocking down the door to see you. So you can't let this momentary thing of like, this woman over here isn't talking to me, or she hurt my feelings because X, Y, and Z, cause you to throw off your game. Like, women will respect you more if they do that stuff and you don't get thrown off. And some women will test that. Some women will be like, look, women have had so many odd, unsafe experiences with guys that have blown up in their face or that have gotten irrational with them, that sometimes they will test you. They will pull away early on just to see how you're going to react. They'll not text you for two or 3 days just to make sure that you're not going to blow up and that you have your head on straight. But whether she's testing you or not, this is why, regardless of what she's doing, your mood is like this: indifferent. She called me today. She didn't call me today. Okay. She texted me back right away. She waited 3 hours to text me back. Okay. Like, the less bothered you are, that's going to actually make a woman trust you more, because you look like a guy that has his emotions under control. When you don't, it's simp behavior. Let's see, which goes to number 6, which is another example of simp behavior, is getting mad at her for pulling away at times. Here's the reality, guy. I get it. You went on a couple of dates with her, you had a good time, and you feel as if this is already gearing towards a relationship. So to go from she's texting you nonstop to like she has a day where she doesn't reach out to you, doesn't give you a good morning text, doesn't ask how you're doing, it can throw us off, because guys are all about consistency in terms of action. And we see her as changing up her texting style or suddenly missing a week to go on a date with us as it no longer being consistent, and that makes us afraid. And I got news for you guys. It's perfectly fine at times for women to pull away. In the early stages of dating, you are a stranger to her, and she has real people in her real life that she's had longer relationships with that also need her time. And she has a job that needs her time. And she might be an introvert that needs her alone time. So the point is that sometimes a woman could be pulling away to test you. Sometimes she could be pulling away from you to have to hang out with other people. And she's thinking, I got to go see my sister, my aunt, my cousin, whatever today, but I'll get back to him tomorrow. And you're not giving them the grace to wait till at least tomorrow to see if they're going to text you back. So instead, what you're doing is getting mad and wanting to reach out to her and tell her about all the ways that she should not be playing games with you and yada, yada, yada. And what is that? That is just simp behavior to the max, all right? So when she starts pulling away a little bit, that is part of the ebb and flow. Sometimes she's going to be heavy on you. Hey, I got news for you. Even when you're in a relationship with women, there's going to be times where like some days they're all over you. They want to climb on top of you. They want to be touchy-feely. And there's going to be some days where like they just want to chill out and watch TV, or they want to just, be to themselves and read a book and not deal with you at all that day. And that's actually totally fine. That is actually legitimately healthy, but it's not healthy if you're getting on them about that and displaying levels of simpitude that's going to make her pull away. It is really hard to talk this long. Anyway, I don't know how Kevin did like 3 or 4 hour shows, because like I get my voice starts going real easy after like an hour. Anyway, the 7th example of simp behavior is negatively complaining about the problems in your life versus just fixing them. I get it, dude. You want to get with a woman and be able to air out your grievances, just like you want to be there for her. You want to be able to complain about how sucky your job is, or how bad of a day you had, or the low pay you have, or the fact that you're trying to chase these dreams not coming. Like, I get it. You want to do all that. Complaining, I'm sorry, guys. Women see it as simp behavior, because you're supposed to be the guy that, even if you're going through stuff, is in the process of trying to figure it out. Yeah, you're not making a lot of money right now, but you're figuring it out. Yeah, you had a hold up in something you're trying to go after, but you're figuring out the next step. You got to figure it out. And I know guys sometimes see that as unfair, because it's like, oh, but I should be able to talk about blah, blah, blah. Get a therapist, get guy friends, get other female friends that you can talk to. But I'm telling you now, especially for new women that you're dating, they're there to have fun. They're there to get out of their own heads. They're there to see the positive side of you that they're hoping you're going to get long-term. You constantly complaining, it gives off feminine energy. I can't explain it. I don't know why. I just know that it does. Women don't like it, and they feel like you're a simp as a result, all right? And then the 8th example of simp behavior, which I went over in the previous show, is being too gentle with her in the bedroom. And I said this on I think the last week's show, or the week before show, where there are too many of you guys that are treating women like delicate little flowers, and they want the action. They want to get rammed. They want to get hit. They want to get all these other things in the bedroom. And you're too afraid because you don't want to, she's too delicate and I don't want to come across as that guy. And you're trying to be all soft and squishy with her. But women are going to men because of their masculine energy. Part of masculine energy is aggressiveness, is taking what you want without permission. Obviously, in the hookup realm of things, you're going to make sure that there's consent there. But even that, there's ways to know that consent is happening without having to be like, hey, so like, is it okay if I like touch you here and poke you there? Like you got to understand the ebbs and flows of how this works. You going to her, trying to be gentle and ask all these things about if you can or can't do things, goes back to one of the ones I talked about earlier, but especially in the bedroom, that makes you the ultimate simp. It makes her feel as though you don't know how to handle women in the sexual realm, and they're probably not going to want to date you as a result. All right. So go through these behaviors and really look at the things that you're doing. If you're that kind of guy that hasn't been having much success with a woman, a good portion of it could actually be that you're showing and displaying simp behavior that's causing women to pull back. And it's a very hard thing to self-analyze ourselves. Again, we want to think that we're doing every single thing right, but all you gotta do is look at results. If you're thinking I'm doing everything right and your results are saying, but you have no women, then there's probably some stuff that you're doing wrong that you could stand to fix. And again, you saw my letters. I went from a guy with this woman that was simping his brains out with her to where she was showing up on her doorstep in pajama lingerie, writing me letters about how much she missed me and how she wants to see me soon. Like, all because I was able to get rid of that simp behavior, all right? So it's beneficial to you. There are women that would date you right now that you're messing up with by being a simp. If you just were more patient and less anxious, then you'd be showing less simp behavior. If you need help with that, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com. I'll be happy to coach you in some capacity. And you can also go there and check out my ebooks, audiobooks, all this other stuff that is designed to help you figure that stuff out, all right? So hopefully, guys, this helps you out. I'm just gonna get rid of this thing here. Much better. All right, so with that said, we have a few. I try to keep these shows to like 90 minutes or so for right now, because that's all my voice can take. So I'm going to answer a few more comments that I got during the week. Like I said, guys, this show is about you. So if you have any questions you want to ask me in the chat, then you can go ahead and do that, and I'll be happy to answer them for you. All right. So Let's see, we got some other comments that I got this week. Let's see, I went over that one about vetting. Okay, so I got rid of that one. Let's see, this one is the feelings of ignoring you one. All right, let's see. Oh, that is a long one. Okay. Let's see. I'll go over these earlier ones here. Okay, so well, this kind of goes with the show I did last week as well as the thing I just talked about. So I did the show, I think it was last week, about how she's not that innocent and how women across the board would like you to handle them a little bit rougher in the bedroom, right? So I did that show. Obviously, I talked about here about how not doing that is simp behavior, but I wanted to go over a couple of comments that I actually saw on Reddit underneath a thread that I saw about women that were asking about how can they get their guys to be a bit rougher in the bedroom and acquiesce to some of their, we'll say, more illicit fantasies, right? So there were some guys that commented that just finally got it, finally understood what their girls were talking about. So the first guy said, I once had a girl tell me, quote, stop asking, is this okay? Just do what you want. I'll tell you if it's not okay. Another girl told me I was being too gentle and that, quote, I want you to effing attack me. I want that. Another request was, hey, one of these days when you come to my place, I want you to open the door and have you strip my clothes off. Girls, just be direct. Men aren't good at picking up on signals. Heck, men often need to be told something 3 times before actually doing stuff, be direct. But here's the point. So this guy, he gets it to an extent, but he's still saying, girls, you got to tell us if you want us to be rough or not. That is still technically an example of simp behavior because here's the thing. And I know men say this is unfair. Women just want you to know some stuff. Like, I know if you're new to the sexual realm of things, you're thinking, but I don't know everything. And I don't know what women want. I don't know if they want me to be rough or if they want me to be more delicate or whatever. This is where you have to learn to read into situations because women are great. Women are great at this. And because they do it so great, they're thinking that as men, we do it great. Now, I shouldn't stress to women, hey, we're not mind readers. Please tell us the stuff that you want. And even with that request, there's a place and a time for that to happen. So ideally, when you're not when you're not in the throes of sexual stuff, you can ask randomly if you've already hooked up before, hey, so like, what kind of things do you like in the bedroom? Like you need to, as the guy, even if you don't directly know right away and you want them to be direct, you need to be proactive in asking them, hey, so what kinds of things do you want me to bring to the bedroom? Like, do you want me to be rougher? Do you want me to like bring toys in? Do you want me to bring whips and chains, BDSM? Like what things do you think you're either into or do you want to try? Because if you're proactive, then you're just asking a question and she doesn't have to feel like she has to come out of the woodwork and be direct. Because here's the thing, most women are not going to just come out the woodwork and be direct with you. There's too much stigma in our society with women that are too overtly interested in doing things outside of vanilla sex that they're usually sitting there waiting for you to ask them what they'd be into. So just know that, just add it to your head as the guy. After a couple of rounds of hooking up with this woman, it is my job to ask her, hey, so what are you into? What's your level of pain? Do you like it rough? Do you like your hair pulled? Do you like your butt spanked? Like, just know, having your repertoire, always ask these questions and you'll never have to worry again about if you're doing too much or not, you know? So that's the first guy. The second guy said that he 100% agrees with that guy's previous comment. He said, I remember when I was with my first ever girlfriend, I was still a bit inexperienced and shy. So even though I did take over the lead sometimes, I always tried to be soft and gentle while hooking up, but that wasn't satisfying enough for her. So one day she clearly explained to me how hard and in which position she wanted me to bang her. And I tell you, her explaining that to me was hot as heck and turned me on so much, which again is great. But again, we want you to be more proactive. But that's the point, is that these guys initially got it. Now, for you guys that are either inexperienced or haven't done a lot of hookups, this is going to feel weird because your whole life you're taught, be a nice guy, don't be too aggressive. Men that are too aggressive scare women. And so you have negative programming about being aggressive. And this is where it's important to realize, let's go with the analytical mind, right? Just like you're a nice guy in everyday life, right? If someone came up to you and punched you in the face, you would instinctively know, okay, this is the time for me to get rough. This is not the time for me to be nice or to turn my other cheek and let them hit that cheek too. This is time to fight back and go to blows with it, right? So you understand then that there are some environments where you're going to be nice guy, everyday average Joe gentleman, and some environments where you got to be more aggressive. Instinctually, it's more of a fight environment, but now just add that over to the hookup environment as well. All right. So it's perfectly fine to be in these environments with your lady and hooking up where you can be a bit more aggressive. Okay. But it's going to take practice. It's going to take time to be comfortable with that. So just know that, but know that it's perfectly fine. Most women, like I said, are wanting you to be more aggressive in these various environments. Oh my God. All right. So we're going to answer one more question in the chat because my voice is about to give out. So got a question in the chat. And the question is, do you notice a difference between your clients who are smart like you and those with ADHD? I have extreme inattentive and may feel that really screws me up. A lot of these girls really want to get it like you just got. That's a separate comment. Okay, let's go back there first. So the comment left was, do you notice a difference between your clients who are smart like you and those with ADHD? I have extreme inattentive and may feel that really screws me up. I'll be honest, guy. I mean, I appreciate you calling me smart, and growing up in school, admittedly, academic wise, I had abstract reasoning, meaning I got concepts a lot faster than people, but that was like tactile stuff like science, math, etc. But where I really did not thrive was in social settings. Like I have a brother who was an extrovert, who just had that natural charisma and was able to not feel nervous around people and was able to talk to people. So the way I am now is simply the result of a lot of work. Like it's nothing that you yourself couldn't try to study or read up on. And I say this because I don't want you to think that any kind of medical thing you have going on is going to be a hindrance to your ability to do these concepts, because a lot of it really is honestly patience, self-control, and really honestly understanding the functions of how dating works. Like for me, I'm so analytical, and part of that's because for me in the dating world, once I was able to map out a blueprint, like literally A to Z, okay, this is how you meet a woman. This is how often you call her, how often you take her out. This is the point at which she's going to start showing that she likes you more. This is when you start escalating things. Like I literally have dating down to a science, where it's a clear-cut blueprint, which you can also see at the website. But I did that because once I was able to analytically see the actual pattern of dating became very interesting. I mean, very, very easy, to the point where the actual mechanics of dating is almost boring to me, because I already know, like, for example, if I go on a date with a woman tonight, right, and she looks at me a certain way, or she moves her hand a certain way, or she says certain phrases, I already know what to do for the next 3 months to get her to the relationship. And because of that, it takes a bit of the romanticism and emotion out of the actual dating process. Now, notice I said it takes it out of the dating process. It doesn't take my emotions away from the girl that I'm dating, but I think that men tend to err better when they take their emotions and feelings out of the actual process of dating, because the process is just the process. And so when you plug in certain things, you're going to get certain results. So for example, I learned that early on, if the thing that I plug in is I'm texting her all the time, by date 3, she's gone. She's no longer going to talk to me. But if I plug in where I'm going to wait between a few dates, or I'm going to wait for her to text me first before I respond, then plugging in that, the results were I get the second date, the third date, the fourth date, the fifth date, the 10th date. I get to the relationship. So all I did was just analyze what things do I need to plug in, what things do I need to unplug, what parts of my pattern do I need to take away, and what parts I need to add in order to make dating a linear process, all right? Once you learn that process, it's literally just doing that process over and over again for every single woman you date. No woman that you're dating is special up until she gets into the relationship. So that takes away the emotional aspect in terms of like, well, I did these things on these 2 dates, she should already like me. It's not gonna be like that, because you're gonna say, okay, I did these 2 things. I'm gonna wait to see if I get that third date. And I know on the third date to do this thing that's gonna get this result. And then I'm gonna do this thing and wait for her to do this thing to be able to get this result over here. Like, again, it sounds very non-romantic. It sounds almost kind of boring and dull. But here's the honest truth, is that for you as a guy, the dating process should not be exciting. It should be very predictable. You should be able to know, based on the things that she's doing, the things that you're doing, the things that you're taking her to, the things that you're doing in the bedroom, the things that you're talking about, where this is going to go. And women trust men that have a plan of action. When you don't have a plan of action, that's where you trip up. And when you don't have a plan of action, that's where ADHD stuff will mess you up, because you'll be thinking, okay, I did this thing over here, but I got to do this over thing. And then what about this over thing? And, oh, I should try this thing over here, because you don't have a thing mapped out. When you have a plan that is mapped out, ideally, the more you practice it, it'll become second nature, to where you know, regardless of what you have going on, you're sticking to the plan that's going to get you to the promised land. And again, I have a blueprint on my page you can get for free that maps this out. I got a whole program called Introvert Dating Success Academy that walks you through the ins and outs of all these things, that's designed to ultimately help you figure out the exact plan to get into a relationship, and then how to take it to the next level beyond that, you know? So hopefully, guy, this helps you out. So that's all I got for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching this stream. I do this show every Tuesday at 5 o'clock. I've also been starting to do some more surprise streams throughout the course of the week. So if you're on my email list, I will always try to email you before I do one of these pop-up streams. So you can go to the website and subscribe to that as well. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this show. Be sure to tell your friends about it. Be sure to watch more stuff and comment during the course of the week. And I'll be happy to answer you guys' questions on next week's show. And yeah, that's all I got for now. Oh, good. I'm gonna go get some water and eat some food right now. So thanks for watching. I'm Harry Wilmington, and I will catch you guys on the next episode. I'm out.
You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class man. You a high class man. You a high class man. You a high earning, high value, high class